Over the years, through acute storytelling and the various forms of entertainment art media that we have come up with, we human beings as a species have found ways to immortalize the lives of the great people and of people we have found vastly interesting throughout our history. However, and I do stand to be corrected, there is one particular character who we have tried over and over to adapt into our modern media storytelling devices, but we just can't quite pin down. And seeing that you've already clicked on this video, then you probably do know that the person I am discussing about is none other than Cleopatra, the Queen of Egypt. And the aim of this video is not to go throughout all the various adaptations of Queen Cleopatra that we have had, especially not the recent Netflix Queen Cleopatra series. God knows that that was already mined for enough content earlier in the year. But what I aim to do in this video is actually introduce you to one of the weirdest adaptations of this character that you probably have never ever witnessed. Granted, it is kind of ancient by today's standards, so there is that. Welcome to African Entertainment Reviews, the only Africa-centric channel that will trudge through the weird and wacky for your entertainment. Buckle your seatbelts and I hope that you are not high because this movie is a trip all on its own. So first off, being honest with yourself, deep down when you heard that I was going through the weirdest adaptation of Cleopatra, you kinda had an inkling that it would actually be from anime. I mean, it was kind of obvious, right?
It is what it is. It is what it is.
Yes, this is in none other than 1970s Cleopatra, which was actually in anime. And just look at that glorious Japanese katakana title screen. I wish my name could actually be written like that. Initially I labeled this as ancient, but one of the more immediate fascinating things about this is actually in the fan sub notes, which state that though this film was subtitled and released in the US in the early 70s, there are no copies of that version known to exist. Now look, we have dug up dinosaur bones. You get this? I hail from a country that is smack dab in the middle of the continent known as the cradle of life. We have dug bones of early man in this country. But somehow we are meant to believe that there are no known existing copies of this movie, Cleopatra 1970. What the hell? Anyway, the fan sub notes hilariously go on to state that the English dub copy that is available is actually from a Chinese translated version, which was not human translated. It was actually a machine translation from the Chinese version, which in itself might have also been a machine translation from the Japanese version, which leads us to the laughable conclusion that this movie is actually utterly unintelligible gibberish. Try saying that 3 times as fast. And the subnotes complaints do not even stop there. I'll just leave them up here so that you can read them because they legitimately cracked me up. So we haven't even kicked off the movie yet, but you are guaranteed of pure weirdness just based off the subtitles that you will be reading throughout this entire movie. Leading up to the best caveat I have ever seen in any movie being, frankly, this film is pretty much batshit crazy in any language. And oh boy, batshit crazy does not begin to define this movie. Don't believe me? Here's how we start. We legitimately kick off this movie in a futuristic city, and whilst this movie is mostly anime, this part is actually full photorealistic video direction. Only difference is they actually plastered 2D hand-drawn anime faces onto real human bodies. And I'm not even kidding, before you can even digest that this is what happens next. Yeah, for absolutely no reason and seemingly to the shock of even the characters on the scene, a laser appears from the wall and turns this chick into what I assume to be a pile of cocaine, because that has to be the only thing these guys were snorting to actually come out and produce this film. Only for this door to open and reveal that the real Mary was actually there minutes ago. What? Well, turns out that the pile of cocaine was actually an alien race called the Passatelli, and in all their hatred of the human race, they had this plan known as Dekesumanto, which actually translates to the Cleopatra plan, to which I, and probably you, might be thinking, the hell is that? Well, congratulations, cause for the first time in this movie, you and the characters in this movie are on the same boat as they also have no freaking idea. thus bears the plot of the movie. This supposed futuristic human race has traveled back in time to ancient Egypt during Cleopatra's rule to figure out what this alien race Passatelli Cleopatra plan was actually all about. But hey, just pump your brakes a bit. This isn't your casual time travel. No, this is soul time travel. Meaning only your soul is transported back in time to inhabit the body of an already existing person from that time period. With everybody's assignments being as follows. Gusilang, the brown guy, is obviously going to be a slave. Yeah, nice touch. Mary will be inhabiting the body of a princess of Egypt. And Halway will be Luba. We'll get to Luba. And with that, these three are sent off to their mission, which makes absolutely no sense yet. So at this point I'll just stop the video and ask any other Cleopatra movies out there if they think that they have a weirder premise than this. Come on, anybody? Raise your hands. Anyone? Antony and Cleopatra? No? You're good? Okay. What about you, Carrion Cleo? You think you're weirder than this? No? Okay, sure. Hey, Caesar and Cleopatra. Obviously, you should be weirder than this, right?
Liar!
What?
No? Heck, all the way in the back there. Scooby-Doo, where's my mommy? You think you have a weirder Cleopatra premise than this? Didn't think so. What about you critics who think that the worst thing to ever happen to Cleopatra was being cast as a black woman? You still think that black Cleopatra was weirder than this? Huh? Anyone? Yeah, thought as much. And so we are transported into Egypt at a time of war and despair, which, I mean, they absolutely nailed this. Hell couldn't look worse than this. And yeah, I absolutely forgot this. This movie is chock full of nudity, so I will not be showing you all the scenes. In fact, I might be repeating a few scenes just to stay safe. Anyway, it is at this point that we are introduced to Julius Caesar, who is depicted as Hulk with malnutrition of some sort. I have no idea what this design is. And of course, this being an anime, he comes equipped with his own ninja. Fast forwarding through Caesar's absolute violation of Alexandria and women in general, we cut to a secret meeting of locals who are plotting the downfall of Julius Caesar. And the best plan they can come up with is, surprise surprise, to soften him up with sex. Now, I should be more critical about this, but that is a pretty solid plan, not gonna lie. What I can be critical about though is this. You see this beautiful lady over here? She offers herself as the one to actually do the seduction and to actually trap Caesar. However, they turn her down because, well, I don't know, she's colored? How the hell did the race-swapping critics get into this movie? Anyway, all jokes aside, they actually use this as the launching pad to introduce us to, finally, Cleopatra.
That sweet white nectar. Oh, Lord have mercy.
Who makes her appearance 15 minutes into the movie. Though I have to say it is a late and I would say fashionable appearance, but just watch this.
男を狂わせる方。すべて私がお教えしました。
なんだよせったら
And a few minutes of weirdness and brutality later, we get our first tie-in to the whole soul time travel plot from the beginning, which I'm not even sure I can show you, but just know that Mary inhabits a certain princess, but she has her bare chest out, so I'll probably have to crop it or blur it somehow so that you can see the scene, I guess. And not sure if you remember, but we put a certain character on hold. Well, here he is, introducing you to the great and legendary Luba. Yes, our soul time traveler's mission was to actually inhabit a freaking cheetah, which I would make fun of, but it is pretty cool, you gotta admit. Anyway, Luba's mission is to take Cleopatra to a secret temple where they will remold her body and make her hotter. And immediately following the success of this plastic surgery, Luba is immediately inhabited by Haluway and, well, he just turns into a horny cheetah. This is probably one of the weirder parts of this movie. And I really do mean one of, because this movie is full of weirdness. The next scene is literally Cleopatra being folded and being packed into a sack so that she can be delivered to Caesar. And of course of Luba dry humping said sack. I mean, if I continue to break down all the weird scenes for you in this movie, this would actually be your legitimate reaction. followed very promptly by my immediate cancellation from YouTube, so I think I'll just wrap the rest of the scenes as fast as I can. From a shit-pressed Julius Caesar looking for an unoccupied modern-day Western bathroom stall to take a dump in, to an ancient Roman slave being handed a Glock for sport, to Cleopatra and Caesar riding on this Corvée-shaped palanquin, to this acid trip of a parade that throws in every imaginable art style ever, to this absolutely random cut to Astro Boy, and a gladiatorial fight against a reverse abominable snowman of sorts, which is actually won through the modern day Glock that was earlier introduced, to this Mount Rushmore that only has Julius Caesar faces. I mean, you get it, this movie is batshit crazy but on steroids. And if by some miracle you still remember the main plot of this movie from the beginning, then all that information is quite useless throughout the entire runtime of this movie, because there is still no resolution at the end of this movie, seeing as this culminates in a final showdown between Cleopatra and Octavius with his Roman troops in what seems to be an unnamed king's pyramid tomb that seems to have been made for Cleopatra before her death, and she just lies to unceremoniously die. Whereafter we are faded back to the future and there is again no resolution to the actual mission plan. We have no idea what the Cleopatra plan was. Just have our three, I struggle to call them protagonists, standing before their commanding officer giving very vague looks and no answers to the actual questions at hand. To which we are treated right after this with the imagery of several missiles leaving Earth to no actual established target. And yeah, that's the 1 hour 52 minute fever dream that is the 1970 Cleopatra anime movie.
What was that?
You know, when you do a review, you're supposed to say something at the end to like wrap it all up, but I am more confused at the end of this movie than I ever was during it. Now, I called out a couple of other productions that have an adaptation of Cleopatra earlier in this video, but it still remains a strong personal belief that none of these storytelling art forms have actually immortalized the story of Cleopatra in any respectable, cultural, or factual way, as is the case with any other great influential personalities from our human history. However, putting aside all my gripes with any other adaptation of this character in all these other media art forms, this has to be the absolute weirdest thing that I have ever consumed in my entire life. I honestly don't think I can recommend it. I am certainly not recommending it to any of my younger audience members. Kindly stay away from it. However, what I can recommend is any of these videos on your screen which are done by yours truly, your soon-to-be favorite Uncle Omari. Oh hey look, I got my name in Japanese katakana. Awesome. Some might actually be weird, but they're not Cleopatra 1970 weird. I do hope you got some enjoyment from watching me go through this acid trip journey, and I most definitely cannot wait to see you all in the next one.